This week on the Rental Report Review. Forget about that guy with the chainsaw and start worrying about the deranged nail gun killer, the Nail Gun Massacre, 1985. Power. He loved it. He took it raw in big gulps. He liked the taste, the way it mixed with the bourbon and the sin in his blood. A Face in the Crowd, 1957. His only friend was his gun, the Samourai, 1967. All the glamour and greatness of the world's most exciting drama of speed and spectacle, Grand Prix, 1966. A deranged film, with dignity, Inserts, 1975. I don't know that I've ever been this in media res than this in media res.
You know, there ain't been no one killed around here in over 10 years.
I love a film that cuts the fat, but what do they say? If you haven't cut too much, then you're not cutting enough. This one, in the ways that really matter most to the Revenge-O-Matic, cuts too much. Here's the deal. You can't really have a Revenge-O-Matic when you never get to know the Avenger. What animates them?
Just let that killer show up.
How high the summit of their mound of bodies should reach. Sure, it's a radically elastic genre, and you can make up for it with gore, sex, cool kills, and/or belligerently tapping some problematic sociopolitical cultural artery. But unfortunately, the Nail Gun Massacre, in a shed full of household construction site murder movies, is far from the sharpest tool, pneumatically powered or not. I give the Nail Gun Massacre 2.75 stars. It's a great seed of an idea, with more passion than skill, which is fine, but I don't even think they're entirely sure what that passion is. I wanted to like it right up to the end when I was slapped with a twist so cheap I groaned. The costume is super cool. The music and sound effects are punching way above their weight, but once you see the first murder, it's pretty much a copy and paste the rest of the way out. For an overtly political film, it's impossible not to read Kazan's work through his naming of already named names before HUAC, especially for a dilettante like myself who dabbles in psychoanalytic auteur theory. I'm not here to judge the man through his work. As I've said, I believe in separation of art and artist, at least when it comes to actions in the material world. But I do think one can illuminate the other to provide insight to both the work and maybe even the complicated workings of our existence. Pretentious enough? I hope so. So what does this movie reveal to me, your humble reviewer? Well, this one has a lot it's trying to say. A lot of territory is covered, from rural backwoods to the very seat of power at the top of the mid-century Tower of Babel of the globalizing world. But what's the thesis?
Loved by millions, an idol of the people.
My main problem is that it's muddled. It's something like the public are rubes, and the powerful can herd them with a compliant populist until that character, that actor, thinks that they're the ones with the power. Really, maybe it seems to say more about Kazan as a director than it does about the sociology of power and politics. Maybe it even reveals a little bit about himself as the tool of the ruling class.
I'm not just an entertainer. I'm an influence.
It's not quite, I can't quite reach a coherent analysis because I don't feel the film is totally coherent itself. It's more a sawed-off shotgun blast in the thick of it than a sniper in a tower. That got kind of dark, didn't it? I give A Face in the Crowd 3.75 stars. I think my main problem is that the film is not completely honest. It attempts to blame one side while absolving another, when there are really no clean angels here. Something I think Network cuts to the quick with. But I mean, you probably wouldn't have Network without A Face in the Crowd, which you probably wouldn't have without Citizen Kane, which feels exceptionally immediate still, because it pulled neither punches nor withheld empathy. Don't get me wrong, there are some great performances here, but without real depth on the page, left me rather cold. When I was watching this, I made a note about process in films, specifically thinking about crime, heist, maybe even cooking films. And then, apropos of SpaceX catching a fucking Starship rocket booster just 3 days ago, America's favorite brain educator, Andrew Huberman, X'd, "The brain loves observing highly controlled action at a distance." But like a Frosh Bio 100 student, forgot to fucking footnote. So I'm left to speculate. At my most cynical, I would contend that the world, the universe, is indifferent to our existence and offers little to no clue how to continue to exist, much less thrive. What foothold we humans gained on this mote of dust in the universe has been through trial and error and astute observation. And eons before we had the anatomy to speak, we must have learned primarily through observation of others. What better way of knowing you can cross a river than watching that one dude you hate try it first? Anyway, if you're a human and you love process, and you are, and you do, on a very basic level, you will love this movie. And if you think the world is managed by often unjust people looking to take advantage, and you want to see a little comeuppance by way of clever, wordless process, this movie is doubly for you. As a mere matter of personal preference, Jean-Pierre Melville has not been my favorite of the mid-century European modernists, but has remained one for which I have a deep and growing respect. The Cercle Rouge probably being my favorite of the few I've seen. Fucking shout out to Army of Shadows, though. I think what I love most about his films, and Les Samouraï in particular, is the total dedication to a moral code, especially when extended an easy way out, which is only bent to preserve the virtuous innocent. I give Les Samouraï 4.25 stars. There's a little cheating in the process. I always cringe at tech in these movies that allow for omniscient tracking, say, or easily discoverable eavesdroppers for the sake of plot. But Melville and co-writer Georges Pellegrin earn it and pay it off in clever enough means. So that's a nitpick picked.
Allez. Le Samourai, interprété par Alain Delon.
Alain Delon is the sexiest sexless apparition possibly put to screen here. Infinitely unknowable, unsure if his placid mechanism is infinite depth or the mirrored opaque surface of a street puddle. But I think that's the point. And even if it's not the point, it's probably the point. I can't say enough about the look and the sound of this film. The neutral low-con grays underscoring the murky moral world operating right out in the open, and the sound and the score. If you're going to have a mostly silent picture in this day and age, you better deliver some aural texture, and this one does.
Une interprétation hors de pair. Une réalisation magistrale. Un film exceptionnel.
Obviously easy to juxtapose with Fincher Walker's The Killer, a movie that won't stop yapping, assumes a lot of the same structure, but delivers a decidedly different generational message. Good triple feature with Diva, though for more of a post-colonial emphasis to the conversation.
Le Samouraï, un film de Jean-Pierre Melville, prochainement sur cet écran.
The reason I've watched so few films, or the reason I have so many blind spots, is that I vacillate between zealously insisting movies must be seen in a theater and no, they should be seen and preserved by any means necessary, but still knowing in my heart and hearts, in my gut microbiome, that the theater is primary, the primal scene, an echo of the hominid cave shows. Anyway, pretense aside.
Now, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer takes you to the glamour capitals of the world.
This is spectacle, and it's a crime that I was able to watch it at home on a nearly 20-year-old 1080p display, a mere 40-some-odd inches diagonal.
Pete Aaron, the American.
I fucking love racing movies, the good ones. Ones that transmit the speed and danger and focus on ego and ambition, and my god, the speed. As a sushi chef once said of uni, I think I can say about racing films, there are only A+ and F-. And Grand Prix, for the late 60s, international studio picture conceived for the collapsing Cinerama gimmickry, yeah, I said it, this is maybe as close to an A+ racing film as it gets. What do I love? Did I mention the speed? I love the speed. I love the real speed, the documentary speed and sparseness. I love seeing real people in real cars going real fast. Frankenheimer, Lionel Linden, and Saul Bass and crew, and especially the editing and sound teams, did the seemingly impossible of communicating geography, spatial relations, placings, and emotional explosive resonance through the coverage of mostly inanimate objects. How? There's a keen understanding of pressure and dynamics, shot pressure, letting cars approach and recede, tracking from on high, releasing pressure valves with voiceover right before further compression, juxtaposing high-wire racing with grounded emotional story threads that never cross fully into romantic melodrama. It's a film about obsession, and like all obsessions, the real obsession is obsession in and of itself. And this one, did I mention, goes really fucking fast.
Yes.
I give Grand Prix 1966 4.25 stars.
I think you should go to hell.
It's a goddamn shame and embarrassment that someone's felt the need to dub Toshiro Mifune. Though he's arguably done more adroitly with his eyes, his gaze, his expressions than just about any other speaking actor in the 20th century. So there's that. But the rest of the cast? Jeebus. I don't think I've liked James Garner more, only to be given a run for his money by the all-too-brief threading of Jessica Walter. What a sultry incendiary performance. Shout out to my Robin Hood, Brian Bedford, and of course the Titanic Yves Montand. I mean, but MGM, Amazon, whoever it is that owns this, restore Mifune's voice, please. Pretty sure that this and From Here to Eternity are the Rosetta Stone for a certain generational demo of men and filmmakers, your Manns, your Scotts, and the like. If you have to watch it at home, which is probably the way most of us will, at least watch it loud.
This is Grand Prix.
This is not a movie. It's a no-ho play. A professional's black box passion project given a chance at the screen with a little bit of a budget and some rising stars. It's writer-driven with a bit of an axe to grind only a frustrated writer might write. A working writer with a bit of venom, but mostly ambition.
Well, I think the Boy Wonder's just about the only genius that ever worked in the cinema.
But yeah, my main problem, aside from some of the shorthanded kayfabed inside baseball of the industry and its history being a little fast and loose, is that, well, it was a little too in love with its titular metaphor. But really, it's a project that didn't really need to be filmed. Sure, it's about movies and shitflies that circle looking for a meal, the has-beens looking for and terrified of another day in the sun. But it does almost nothing with the cinematic apparatus itself, which is a shame because there's some real talent here that is desperately trying to communicate if only they would stop running their traps and really be and do. I get it, it's low budget, there are restrictions. This is a clever conceit and a great premise that I think is snuffed by its restrictions with a Helmer that is perhaps better at the keyboard than next to the lens. I give Inserts 1975 3 stars. The power and character reversals, especially in the latter third, don't quite track with what is previously established. But I think it's easy to get the point. I mean, they're obvious, unsurprising points, telegraphed a little too circularly from the opening dumb show. What's the idiom? Too clever by half? I mean, really, it's a little too early and maybe not up its own ass enough or cynical enough to be ahead of its time for all the backbiting, navel-gazing fare of the independent early 90s. No notes on casting. Insane this is the same year as Jaws for Dreyfus. Bobby Hoskins pops. Veronica Cartwright is pitch perfect. Jessica Harper bringing some heroin chic to a somewhat confused role. And Stephen Davies does his best to animate some sort of big dick bimbo with passages of unwritten sensitivity. It's fun, but does its best to be unmemorable. This week, my weekly pick of the week is, everyone but me has already seen the Samourai, so fire up the stereo receiver, sit in front of the biggest screen you can, as close as you can, and pop in Grand Prix. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this should be in the dome. Why has no one who claims to love film and want to shoot on film and IMAX forever, put their money where their mouth is? This week's bonus feature is the cool, the calm, the process-oriented Le Samourai. He's really more of a Ronin, but, you know, the Japanese and French love each other and have their own rules together. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on Instagram and X to see what movies I'm renting next, and pretty much everything is on my letterbox. I am going to go watch some more movies. I hope you do too. Very well.